It's an exciting time because Warcraft Rumble is finally hitting the public and going live, where I'm starting to get messages from people that they're able to finally download Warcraft Rumble. I've been playing it behind the scenes for a while, and one of the first things that you're going to see pop up on your journey in Warcraft Rumble is this choose your first leader screen. And this is going to seem intimidating, like you're making a crazy decision right now that's going to impact how you play the game. But don't stress over this too much, because you are going to earn more leaders pretty quickly as you're playing the game. I would say for most people, within about 10 to 20 days, you will unlock all of the leaders. So don't feel bad if you make a choice you end up not liking or something like that. But I'm going to talk to you about the different play styles and which ones are going to be probably the best for like the first kind of leaders to pick for your account. And when the screen pops up, you're going to get 3 choices, 1, 2, 3 for leaders. And something that a lot of people don't understand is this will be different depending on each player. Now, you don't need to go crazy with like deleting your account and re-rolling and doing a bunch of crazy stuff, because most of the leaders are perfectly fun and viable for starting out. Now, it's not going to be till like the end game PvP where there's going to be like certain metas, but in terms of like PvE, early game progression, you can do just fine with most all of these leaders. So just go ahead and pick the one that makes the most sense for you and you'll be just fine. But I do want to break them down for you in terms of my at least opinions right now. And we do have a tier list over on the HH Gaming website where we lay out just some of our initial impressions in terms of a tier list for each mini. That means right now we're considering the top 3 most generally useful leaders for beginners in terms of PvE and PvP content to be Rend, Tyrion, and Baron. And when you head into your army tab on your account there towards the bottom, you can see that lit up helm is my army tab. Up in the top, it will show all of the different leaders. Like right here on my account, currently I've got Tyrion selected. I can tab over to Jaina by clicking and scroll through the different leaders up top there that I have unlocked on my account. And within a few days, you'll have a few of these. So like I said, don't stress too hard over that first initial decision, even though it seems intimidating. But if you do get lucky enough to have a choice of one of these S tier ones in Rend, Tyrion, and Baron, definitely go that route because they will be very, very solid for you. But there is also one leader that I do want to talk about specifically, because I think this may be one that you might want to avoid if you're brand new to this genre. Maybe you didn't play Clash Royale and you don't really understand this kind of cycling game where you go through a deck and you play versus your opponent based on elixir or gold cost and all that kind of stuff. One that can be a little bit difficult to get the grasp of is going to be Charlga Razorflank, and the reason being is this: all your minis in your hand share the same cost. It gets super confusing. What it does is kind of like you play a mini and then it goes to the back of the line and it keeps all of the minis in your hand the exact same cost. So it gets really difficult to understand what's going on and how to predict the rotation and cycle through and plan a push and learn what each mini costs individually, because the numbers are going to be constantly changing and going a little bit weird on you. Doesn't mean that this leader is trash. You can actually do some pretty cool things with Charlga, but in terms of a beginner or a new player, someone trying to learn and get the grasp of Warcraft Rumble, that's probably one I would want to give a shout out to you to maybe avoid for a little bit until you understand the game. And then there's probably another one worth mentioning here in Maeve or Maiev, however you want to say this, Shadow Song. So this one is going to be a very specific cycle. So Maev's cost is going to be reduced by 1 for each unbound troop you play. So you're kind of pigeonholed into needing to do a specific play style and a specific rotation and go through it 2 or 3 times to get good value here out of your Shadow Song, because it's going to cost 6. Ideally, you want to play a few unbounds and get it down to at least like 3 or 4 before you play Maeve. So it can be a little bit wonky in terms of getting consistent value on a rotation with your leader. So that would be a couple that I'd probably avoid as your first choice if possible. And if I had to pick like one overall leader that I would say is the best for people to choose as their first leader, I would probably go with Tyrion Fordring right here, because what he's going to do is heal nearby friendly units, and it's actually a pretty significant heal. You will notice it on the battlefield while you're playing, and he only costs 4. So he's just kind of a consistent tank in the front of your pushes that can soak up damage, keep things alive, heal you up, which is going to be super strong in PvE, having that kind of support. It's a very consistent and easy to understand, just intuitive play style of him giving you consistent value that's easy to play. And with Tyrion, you can do some pretty cool things. Like, this is a screenshot of a match that I was playing, and look at this flood of units I'm able to get on the field. So right here in this box, this is all of my units, because I've got these different Tyrions right here. As I'm able to cycle through my deck, I'm able to keep a bunch of stuff on the battlefield because I get Tyrions healing things up and not letting them die, and you can get some massive pushes and really stomp through PvE a little bit better than you probably would be with other leaders, at least more intuitive and more simply. And if you're curious about some of the other leaders, Jaina Proudmoore is obviously a very popular and iconic mini right here, and she's consistent. She's just a solid damage dealer with a cost of 3. That's pretty cheap, but you're gonna have to kind of bring your own tank and plan around kind of keeping her alive, keeping her in the back line. And then also you have to kind of synergize with spells, which may be a little bit hard for a new player to understand the proper synergies and also level up the right spells to get it in your deck and get the cycle set up. So Jaina can be good, but I think there's better options out there for new players, even though she is a very iconic character. One that can be fun is going to be Old Merkai. So what he's going to do is spawn a bunch of Murlocs after you play him, because it's based on the gold cost that you're dumping. So you kind of play your Old Merkai, then you try to dump a bunch of gold, and you're going to be getting a bonus Murloc Tidehunter for each gold that you spend. So you can really flood the map and do some pretty cool things with it as a leader, but it's a very specific rotation and specific setup, and you can't really control them, especially until you get a talent that will help you. I think it's called Tip of the Spear, a trait that will let you kind of control right here Tidehunter spawn at Old Merkai's location instead. So they kind of just go sporadically. They spawn and then they run off. You can't really control it, but it is fun, and it's kind of a cool little play style that I did do for a while. Then you have Hogger right here. It's just, again, it's a pretty beginner friendly one, because you just play Hogger, cycle through as many times as you can. You probably want to build a cheaper deck, because what he's going to do is get movement and attack speed each time that he's played. So the more you cycle through, the more value you're getting here for the 4 cost on Hogger. Then you've got Rend. I did a video about Rend. He is fun because he's going to be flying mounted on a Drake. When he takes damage, he will get hurt and then dismount off the Drake, but still be alive and in the front line tanking for you, while also synergizing with air minis. So if you want to do like Drake and Whelp Eggs and some of these other air minis, can be a very fun playstyle with him, and it is very good in PvE content. Then for General Drac, I mean, it's pretty meh in my opinion. The effect right here is nearby enemies take 50% more elemental damage. So if you get the proper DPS characters around him and the proper spells like Blizzard going off on the battlefield, you can get value, but it's nearby, so it's really specific. I don't know. I think it's kind of underwhelming for a cost of 5, but not terrible by any means. If you make that choice, you'll be just fine. And the newest leader that I do want to talk about is going to be Sylvanas. You may be getting offers on your account for Sylvanas Windrunner right here. I think a little bit expensive for a cost of 6. Not terrible. You've got all Undead and Horde minis gain 30% movement speed. Movement speed can be a bad thing if you're trying to set up like a specific beatdown push. So maybe a little bit of a different style here for Sylvanas. Again, probably not the most beginner friendly. As far as beginner friendly, I would go something like Tyrion, or maybe even the spam right here with the Murlocs, or Rend, or one that I haven't talked about yet, and Baron. And Baron is definitely a lot of fun because of the trait right here of periodically summoning skeletons at buildings you control. This can be really good in PvP because you're constantly kind of getting stuff all over the map. It's not based on just cycling through like the Murkai, Murloc spamming deck. You can actually kind of have this be a little bit more consistent. It's not just based on Baron being played and then spamming a bunch of gold. So you'll go up against Baron and that style a lot in PvP. He's one of the more popular PvP leaders right now, and a very solid choice in PvE as well. So there we have it. In conclusion, my overall best leader to pick right now on the launch of Warcraft Rumble for beginners would be right here in Tyrion Fordring. And then my worst one to maybe think about sticking away from, just because of how confusing it's going to be for new players, would be Charlga Razorflank. And if you made it this far in the video, it would mean a lot to earn your subscription today, as I have got a lot of Warcraft Rumble content planned and coming your way very soon. I appreciate all of you. Good luck on the launch of Warcraft Rumble. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.